Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, May 8th. I'm not good with dates. It's June 8th. It's been that kind of thing. We're talking about a labor showdown, VW not marking vehicles up, and a soccer player. Maybe the soccer player.
Yeah, at least of the news cycle right now. We'll just say at least of the news cycle right now.
I don't know. He's one of the few soccer players I know his name, so we'll talk about that later. So we'll talk about the brand implications of that. Boy.
Yo. We were at a dealership yesterday, and you guys are everybody's going to want to pay attention to our Instagram, LinkedIn this afternoon, because we did a little video cut. This isn't in our show notes or anything like this, but the craziest thing happened. There was a filming happening of a commercial shoot, and there was there's a shot where basically the camera was on a track and also needed to make this kind of pivot move that was electronically done with a wireless controller. Yeah. Next to it, they had an electric vehicle that basically what was happening was when they started rolling and they needed to make the pivot with the wireless controller, wouldn't work. The electric vehicle needed to pull out. The controller could not make the arm swing on the camera. It was nuts. They changed it out for an ICE vehicle. Everything was fine.
Yeah. That kind of ties back into the AM radio. Like definitely an electromagnetic field being generated by that vehicle when it was moving. And we were like, is this where this is being figured out for the first time? Like right here in this delivery bay? I know. It's like, maybe we did. Maybe we were there when the moment happened, and videographers everywhere are going to take note. Oh man. Well, it is an amazing day to be in retail auto. So much going on. We had the old 22-hour day yesterday, entrepreneur life, retail auto life, but it's hard not to be inspired when we're on the ground with dealers doing amazing things and people in the dealership doing amazing things, and just so much positive energy being cultivated and put out into the world from inside a car dealership. It just reminds us of the thesis of why we do what we do. And it just strengthens the resolve that we're doing this all together. Somebody yesterday, actually, this is funny too. It's just story time this morning. Somebody, we got introduced to somebody for the first time. Oh, hi, I'm Paul, I'm Kyle. This is kind of what we do. This is who we are. And he goes, hey, that logo on your hat. He said, that logo on your hat. I think I get that email every day. So the fact that he knew, he literally, then Kyle has to look, opens the email every day, is definitely a loyal reader of the email, and he didn't know who we were, which to me signifies we're doing something very right.
That's exactly what we want.
Very, very right. The fact that ASOTU is so much bigger than any person. ASOTU is this kind of community that exists outside any person, which is how you know it's actually going the way it should be going. So, I mean, gosh, it just made me happy.
Hey, speaking of other people than us.
Oh,
stop. This is a segue to an announcement. Watch it.
I know. That's why I stopped.
So we've got a couple really, really cool interviews, like in line with exactly what we talk about. We've got Joanna Cooper on our Amplify podcast, and the title of it is, because of the way that she communicated, build people who build trucks. Like if you want to be inspired by someone who works in a warehouse today, you got to go check out the Amplify podcast with Joanna Cooper. We've also got an Auto Collabs episode with Chris Adams of Car Offer, so that's rolling out. We just got people coming around the community from every which way. And so,
new friends.
What
we call them, new friends.
All the friends. All the
also, I mean, okay, we're going to move on, but we did lock our primary keynote speaker for a SodaCon that we're going to tell you about. And let me just say, it is going to be off the hook. It's going to be outrageous. We'll tell you more about that. But you can get tickets for ASOTUCon at ASOTUCon.com. Actually, if you're an industry partner, booth space and sponsorships are going faster than we imagined. So if you wanted to get in that, it's not like last year where 30 days out, you're going to be like, oh, I think I'll take one of these and two of those. Nope. If you're thinking you want to be a part of ASOTUCon, like email amj@asotu.com. amj@asotu.com. Get in that game. And if you want tickets, get them now. They're cheaper than they're going to be, and they're going to get more expensive as we get closer. All right, let's talk about getting closer to things.
Segue.
That was a double segue in what could be a drawn out fight. The United Auto Workers, the UAW, labor union prepares for negotiations with Detroit automakers, GM, Ford, and Stellantis. The big conflict everyone's talking about is regarding the pay for 18,000 future workers. It's an interesting one. So at electric vehicle battery plants, these workers were hired through a lot of these joint ventures that we're seeing. So the fact that they're joint ventures, they're not covered by existing labor contracts, posing complexities for the UAW and ensuring, their mission to ensure equitable wages and conditions. So the Ultium Cell plant, the joint venture between GM and LG Energy is an example. The UAW is trying to establish a deal for its 1,100 workers there. And they're trying to put all the battery workers under its master contract. Manufacturers, on the other hand, are arguing that joint ventures are about accessing battery production and knowledge rather than compensation issues. They're like, no, these are different things. We're trying to figure stuff out in these joint ventures, and we're not just like business as usual. So here's a quote, and then we'll jam on it. This is from Mike Booth, UAW vice president, who will lead the talks with GM this year. He said the transition from internal combustion to electric has to be just transition. We have to make sure that no one is left behind.
Man, you just think about this and the impact of a change in the delivery and build of vehicles impacts not just consumers, but employees. And it's wild that because of like a joint venture, maybe they're hired through the LG side of things or through a battery side or through a type of like, temp worker. There's multiple different ways that these people can be brought in, that they wouldn't be covered by the typical labor standards and be under that guide. Now, always unions, there's some personal interest there and management and all of that, but also there's a lot of good that they do, especially in the warehouse manufacturing side of things. So, this is it's a whole new complexity. And I love that they're just like, no, it should just be an easy transition. We need to make sure and care for these workers too.
It's just a transition.
It's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
But it could be, because like you look at just the way that OEMs are starting to look at the opportunities on the other side of a change in production and a change in vehicle manufacturing across the board. They're looking to cut costs. They're looking to change the way things are made, things are delivered, customer communications, all of that. So it's just like, every step of the way has to be carefully considered to make sure the consumer and the employee is at the heart of every decision.
Earlier the week, we were talking about Mary Barra's comments, GM CEO, about not being able to get $20,000 or $30,000 to $40,000 EVs to profitability until 2030. So obviously the fight just to get these vehicles profitable as it stands is difficult. This is another layer in that complex dance that the industry is doing around this transition, or I don't even know. It's a transition to EVs. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Who knows? We definitely don't know. Speaking of not exactly knowing.
Stop. Segue.
Time. So as long as the long anticipated Volkswagen, the mini bus, the ID, what's it called? I have it here somewhere. The ID.Buzz.
ID.Buzz.
As that's getting ready for release, like really, really soon. Volkswagen of America CEO Pablo Desai warns dealers against price gouging, recognizing the potential for excessive markups. Here we go again. He emphasized the need for a fair pricing system for both consumers and dealers, but has yet to propose a specific solution. He also opposes, by the way, introducing some sort of like first edition of the van, common strategy, that kind of boost the demand and boost the profit and the drama around the release. Like, here's the first one we're releasing. And he thinks we're not going to do that either, that customers should not have to pay more. And he says, I quote, "We cannot make a mistake with this vehicle with respect to the customer. We cannot have markups." So obviously trying to learn a little bit from what happened with the F-150 Lightning and the Hummer and all the other like mass. Granted, this isn't as massive of a market, but it's a huge niche market. It's a major release. It's the first vehicle of its kind. And when you have enthusiasts involved, you have the opportunity for profit.
Man, I see both sides of this, right? Because I don't care what vehicle has come out over the last 20 years. When a new vehicle hits the market and there's low supply and high demand, we consistently see, doesn't matter if it's an EV or an ICE vehicle or anything, and it doesn't matter what type of market it is, we consistently see a push for higher price points. So it's not like it's unprecedented in the market to see demand drive prices up. And that's not, we're seeing it with like the current market glasses on, which was kind of the last 2 years of the way that dealers pressed into profitability with increased margins and pricing over MSRP. And so if we took those glasses off and just said, oh, this is a new vehicle on the market, we've seen this happen before, I think that you wouldn't be like the consumer wouldn't be as nervous about that potential. And even though OEM, because it's not something that has ever not been the case. So, I see that side, but I also see the side where it's like, hey, as these new vehicles come out, if we set a precedent for always having large dealer markups whenever a new vehicle comes out, we're going to start to harm our customer view of the brand. So because that's going to be more of a norm where things that we've never seen before kind of come out, I can see the like nervousness on the side of the OEM for the way that the brand is perceived. So
there's some way that they can reward dealers for not selling. I mean, they try to do that, right, with inventory and things like that. VW seems like the brand in general, and VW dealers, they understand brand, I would say, more than most, or at least they're in that top tier of people who understand brand and who really do think like our buyers and our community first. So I think that this is my prediction is this is going to be a little bit of an education in how you can execute something like this well. Although
it'd be interesting to kind of get a dealer survey of like, hey, are VW dealers even already engaged, in a large percentage?
We should get our buddy John Luciano in on this.
Yeah, because he probably has a little idea. Maybe we'll do a little research today. Yeah. Do a little text message thread.
I think it's worth it. Well, speaking of a few text message threads going yesterday and today.
Stop.
A lot.
Segue. Time.
Kyle, this is your world.
Yesterday around 9 a.m. it was like bing, 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 bing in my world, because in an absolute coup for Major League Soccer and Apple, Lionel Messi announced that he will be joining the American soccer club Inter Miami later this year. The club owned mostly by David Beckham. Lionel Messi has won 7 Ballon d'Ors, which is basically like the best soccer player in the world. He's won 4 Champions League titles, which is of all of the top European leagues. All of the top clubs play in like an annual tournament. His team, Barcelona, has won that 4 times. He just recently came off winning the 2022 World Cup. And so here's how the deal looks like it's going to come out. Not all the final details have happened because the caps on player salaries in the U.S. are very, very low. Like they're nowhere close to what he currently gets paid. What he was offered by a Saudi Arabian deal that would have been valued at over £1 billion over 2 years. They're nowhere close to that. But it looks like that there's a major profit sharing deal in both Apple's MLS streaming revenue and Adidas profit sharing. And then he has a future buy option into club ownership after his retirement. So his all combined engagement with the sport in the US is going to equal, or probably in my estimation surpass, because like you just think about the number of people that now will want to watch this game. Like we've had, Ibrahimovic just recently. We've had David Beckham before that. We've had a bunch of European stars come over, but the energy around MLS when they came over was nowhere close to what it is right now, especially coming off the strong 2022 World Cup and viewership in the US. We've got the World Cup coming to the Canada, US, and Mexico here in 2026. And so all of that energy along with Messi is just going to drive a ridiculous amount of streaming subscriptions and jersey sales. And so like, I think it's going to be unbelievable what this brings to the audience in the US.
Let me break that down for all you non-soccer fans out there. Somebody who did a really great job, not obviously a great performer, also a great job building the connection and drama around his persona and his character, has massive leverage when going somewhere else, moving to a deal, because the people and the attention are shifting with the brand. And it's like this crazy pop culture phenomenon. It's got me paying attention to soccer. I mean, I do a little bit because of you, but like it does build this intrigue. And so like tying this to the ground, like this is basically brand connection at play.
It's right? Unbelievable.
No pun intended. And so this is how brand works, whether you are an individual salesperson or service person, or because I mean, like people in automotive now are starting to put out content and build brand connections. And it does a few things. It opens your opportunities. And we've seen this firsthand. I mean, I've seen it so much over the last 12 months of individuals who constantly invest in connecting with the other people in the industry, the people who care about the same things, now have all these opportunities and options open up in front of them because people understand what they're about. They want some of that in their spot. And so this is an awesome example of brand connection at play in a realm of soccer, but it actually works in retail automotive as well. It actually works in personal brand as well. It actually works inside your own organization. Building that brand connection inside your organization. Guess what?
Because the affinity of the consumer, the community, all of that just comes closer.
Oh, I'm talking about amongst your own team.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even thinking retail. Because like this actually works in influencing getting things done in your organization, but it takes work. It takes attention. I love this. Messi's the guy that doesn't, he like made that piece a few years ago, like never go down. Was that Messi?
Yeah.
Or is that Ronaldo?
Yeah. He's totally, and like you watch his game and he is totally against all of the flopping.
My favorite. That's why he's my favorite player. See, that's the one thing I know about him.
He'll stand up through a trip all day. It's unbelievable.
Nothing will make me abandon my appreciation for a sports figure, team, or overall sport than people flopping. That's why I can't watch the NBA anymore, honestly.
And you can't watch Spanish soccer. That's it.
Oh, is that? Well, I mean, that's kind of like just Spanish TV in general, right? It's a little over the top. Right. So, I mean, that shoe actually kind of fits. I might actually just see that as like, it's just part of part of the flair of the culture. You know what I mean? Well, whatever you're doing today, we hope you exhibit a little of the flair of the culture of retail automotive inside your own store, inside your own business, and man, let it get out into the world. Serve some people. Do all that good stuff.